Hey there, we're going to take a look at our population ecology notes. So just a quick recap, if you'll recall, a population is a group of organisms that all belong to the same species that are living within the same place, okay? So population density refers to the number of individual organisms all living within the same space. And this density, this number of individuals is affected by birth, immigration, death, and emigration. Now, birth and immigration will cause a high population density, whereas death and emigration can cause a low population density. Remember, immigration is when an individual is moving into an area, and emigration is when the individual is leaving an area, and both can happen at the same time. So I can emigrate with an E from Tennessee and immigrate to North Carolina. So both are happening at the same time. Now, a survivorship curve, when we're talking about population ecology, is just showing mortality patterns. There are three types of survivorship curves you need to be familiar with and need to be able to identify the populations that would be associated with that curve. So type 1 is showing where individuals survive for a very long time. They live to an old age and then they die. So that's the mortality pattern for humans. Type 2 is a constant loss. So mortality is not affected by age and the population is constantly losing individuals. So birds, rodents, other animals. And type 3 is an early loss. This is when organisms will produce a ton of offspring, but a lot of them will die off either very early or very rapidly. So think insects like mosquitoes, okay? Population dispersion, so when we talk about population density, the dispersion is the distribution of the organisms. And that dispersion can be random, it can be uniform, or it can be clumped. So we're just referring to basically the spacing of the individuals within the population. Now, population growth comes in one of two graphs, basically. So you can have exponential population growth, where this is growth without limit. Okay, so think humans. We are still adding to our population numbers, right? Births is exceeding deaths. So our population is growing exponentially. Logistic growth is when a population is growing at first, but then it kind of levels off. It reaches what's called the carrying capacity. The carrying capacity is a theoretical number, but it is the maximum number of individuals that an environment can support. Okay, so one more time, carrying capacity is the maximum population that the environment could support. Every single population, including humans, has a carrying capacity. We just don't know ours yet. We are still in exponential growth. But at some point, we will reach a carrying capacity where our population numbers will start to level off. You know, births and deaths will become more equal. Now, carrying capacity is affected by limiting factors. Okay, these are factors that control how fast a population can grow and what the carrying capacity is. Limiting factors can be biotic or abiotic. So a biotic limiting factor would be something like disease, right, bacteria, or maybe predation. And then an abiotic limiting factor could be something like the climate or a natural disaster. And limiting factors can also be classified by density. So something like a disease would be density dependent, because if I have a high population density, it's more easy for that disease to spread, versus natural disasters, those would be density independent, because it doesn't matter how many individuals are in the population, the natural disaster is going to happen or it's not. Okay? So question for you. What is the maximum population that a given environment could support? So hopefully you said carrying capacity. That's the maximum number of individuals that an environment could support based on the limiting factors. So again, density dependent limiting factors are going to have more of an effect on high density populations. So disease, competition, parasitism, predation, all of these things are going to have a greater impact because there are more individuals. So if there are more individuals, competition's going to be higher, right? You have crowding versus density independent factors. These are going to regulate your population growth no matter what the size is. Again, natural disasters, right? The volcano is going to explode no matter how high or low the population density is. So nearly all species in the ecosystem are going to be equally affected by density independent limiting factors compared with density dependent limiting factors, right? Those are going to be triggered because of crowding, because of high population density. Okay, so question for you, and you're going to tell me whether this is density dependent or density independent. A population of beetles is exposed to a pesticide, some of them die. So hopefully you said density dependent. Okay, so think of, but it's a pesticide, kind of, it's not a virus, but if there are, right, more beetles, if you have a high population, right, then more of them are likely to get hit by that pesticide than if there were fewer of them. Okay, so that is it for our notes on population ecology. If you have any questions or concerns, just let me know.